Okay, this is my module and chapter 11 observation. Um, Interesting chapter for me. I've had a lot of moments that have dealt with health communication in my life. Um, I want to touch on some of my background with health communication. I started going to therapy when I was 15 years old. Um, After I had told my parents that, hey, I've been trying to take my own life for years now. And that hit them very hard. Obviously, they're my parents, they love me. Um, and so I started going to therapy. And it was difficult for them because when I talked to them, I was like, I don't feel like I'm sad all the time. I feel misunderstood often. But I started going to therapy, and my therapist, he was an awesome guy, and he came up with, he's like, I think you probably are major depressive, right? Um, but we're gonna put you on, like, we're gonna continue doing therapy, and then we're gonna put you on SSRIs, and if that doesn't work, you also might just have autism. We see that a lot in young men that um, we put them on SSRIs because we think they have depression, and it doesn't change anything. Um, and a lot of the time, it's because it's a misdiagnosis, and it's actually autism, and it's not that they have a chemical imbalance making them sad. It's that they're feeling misunderstood all the time and trying to keep up with it, keep up with themselves, and keep up with others, and they can't do it. And so they think, well, something must be wrong with me. I'm just going to take my own life. Um, and before we put myself, we went on. I went on SSRIs, and it didn't help me at all. Um, and I ended up when I was 17 attempting to take my life again, and then I ended up in a psychiatric ward. Um, my parents, um, because I had told um, him because with all of the things I was telling my therapist, he was like, "I need you to know that all this is confidential, and I will only disclose things to your parents um, if you tell me that I can." Right, which goes along with the communication privacy theories that we were talking about, right, and privacy boundaries. Um, that one is an actual law, right? But it's also because even though it's a law, it is also a self-imposed privacy boundary because it can be disclosed to my parents if I choose to. And so there's a lot of things in those sessions that were not disclosed to my parents, and in turn, because of things that I asked them not to disclose, they thought that I was just major depressive forever until I told them like, oh no, this is like he thought it was one of these two things, and if this didn't work, he thought it was this. And so I never got re I never got a new diagnosis. I've thought about going back to therapy and trying to get a new diagnosis, but um, we talked a lot about. I mean, in the discussion, I focused a lot of my um, talking about emotional support, which another thing goes along with privacy boundaries in the psychiatric ward. In the psychiatric ward, it was all minors, and I was one of the oldest ones there. I was just 2 months away from turning 18. Um, it was really difficult for me, and one of the things they actually challenged me to do, they talked about how I offer too much support too often, right? They told me I'm a very paternal figure, and I want to help people. I want to constantly guide people, and that takes away from my ability to take care of myself. Um, and so I'd sit in these sessions with kids a lot younger than me, going through things that were really difficult, and it was my job to be an emotional support in a way that instead of being the emotional support, I was teaching them and teaching others to emotionally support them, which was really difficult, right? Teaching others to be better emotional supports. Um, because I like teaching people how to express their feelings. Um, I feel pretty comfortable in my ability to express my own feelings. It takes some time, but I don't share my feelings unless I'm sure of them. It's taken a long time for my wife to get used to because I go quiet sometimes, and she's gotten used to if he's quiet, it's because he's making sure that when he expresses himself to me, it is 100% true. He's not gonna. He's not going to lie to me about how he's feeling. Um, I think a lot of that support that we learned to offer in the psychiatric ward was nurturing support, right? I got to watch a lot of other people learn how to become nurturers because a lot of these kids also struggle with the ability to connect with one another. And I think that learning to nurture people and teach them um, that they have value brings a lot of connection, right? More connection than we think of, right? We think of a lot of connection is, well, finding common ground, which is true, but also teaching people that they are strong even without you, but also strong with you brings a lot of support. Sorry, this has been a lot of personal dialogue about the chapter. Um, the other thing I want to talk about. I was actually surprised that when it talked about communication privacy, that it only expressly talked about confidentiality once. I thought with health, this was just an interesting thing to me in the chapter. I thought that, especially with health communication, confidentiality would come up more often, but a lot of this chapter was talking about support in health communication, which I thought was really cool. I think when we think of health communication, we think of what you are not allowed to do versus, hey, these are the things that are really important for you to do in order to be a good support. So, anyway,